Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. UFC 306, Noche UFC. There's fucking 15 different names for one event. Riyadh season, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is going on? But anyways, they got a pretty solid title fight in the co-main event between Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko. Shevchenko, a Hall of Famer, a legend, you can say, of the women's division, the most dominant flyweight champion ever.
Yep.
And she's in a trilogy fight against Alexa Grasso. And, with Valentina, it's, she's been on top for so long. Eventually someone's going to come in and be able to figure her out. That's what this game is about, right? So let's look at Grasso. Basically, both of them, they fought each other twice in the last two, right? So the first fight, Valentina and Grasso, they both had, very competitive rounds. And then Valentina made the mistake of turning her back, and Grasso,
choked her out.
Oh, couldn't get out of it.
You remember that replay of like when she let go and her jaw was just white.
Yeah.
It was just like a grip on that thing.
For sure, man. And that happened, and then they did a rematch 6 months later.
Controversial.
And it was a split decision draw.
Yeah.
And who did you think of who won that fight?
It was super close. I think I didn't agree with the fact that they gave a 10-8 in the last round.
To who?
They gave 10-8 to Grasso.
Okay.
That's what ended it like split it, like that's what made it a split draw.
Okay.
Or whatever. So I didn't really agree with that. I thought she won the round, but I didn't think it was that bad. I kind of was edging it towards Valentina, but man, like I haven't felt like Valentina has been the same since like 2021, but we can get into that later.
Yeah. Well, with that fight, what I remember that stood out to me about that fight, because I don't really remember the rounds, but when you look at the stats, right, and stats don't tell you everything, but Valentina was able to take Grasso down.
Yeah.
A bunch of times.
Yeah.
Right?
I do remember that too.
And it kind of worries me that someone like Shevchenko is taking Grasso down. So if Grasso's in a dominant position, let's say at the back, then she's all right. But when she's on her back, like, it could be a problem, man. It could be a big problem in this fight. I think, a lot of people are counting out Shevchenko a little bit too early because of the first fight. But the first fight was competitive. It wasn't like one person dominant. Maybe you could even just give it to Shevchenko a little bit, right? But Grasso was handling hers. The thing that, I look at in this fight is that Grasso is going to come in and she's going to be fully prepared just like Shevchenko.
Yeah.
And will the age catch up to Shevchenko?
That's the thing that I've been thinking about.
Old,
yeah.
36 years old, and Grasso's in her prime at 31.
Yeah.
And the crazy part about Grasso is that she doesn't really do nothing like spectacular. It's just she's like really good at the basics.
Yeah.
And knows how to take advantage of
situations.
timing and situations and stuff like that, right?
I mean, that's how she got the rear naked choke, right?
Exactly.
Is
Just jumped on
Shevchenko?
it
Yeah,
instantly. Because they're probably prepared for that. They're like,
Yeah.
whenever she spins, always just push forward,
Step in,
and then let's see if you could take the back. And then opportunity came, and she took the opportunity. Second fight, much closer. A lot of people thought Shevchenko won. Like you said, 10-8 round doesn't make sense. Was she dominating that round that much? And Shevchenko, she's like a competitor. And the thing about it is Shevchenko doesn't really have... she's fucking a lunatic, right? Like, she just trained all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I heard her training regimen is 3 hours a day, and that's it. 3 straight hours a day of training.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day, they relax and do whatever else.
And they recover.
Yeah, recover.
But she
So
travels.
they don't have 2-3 training sessions a day.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
They don't have that. They
It's
just have
like,
one
duh.
long period of training, and then that's it.
That's interesting.
And then she always brings in like all these guys to train with,
Yeah,
right? And
she's interesting because she travels a lot, right?
Yeah.
And then she always has her coach,
Yeah.
and then they're basically just bringing in whoever they feel like they need.
Yeah. And Grasso, she has a huge team around her, right? A
Yeah.
really solid team. You know, I mean, they're doing really well right now. They're gonna be prepared. I just think that Shevchenko, I think she wrestles more in this fight, and I think that I don't think she's lost a step. To be honest, I think she's had some scares, and maybe she like that kind of woke her up. And these couple of fights woke her up. The loss woke her up. The Talia Santos
I was
fight
gonna
woke
say
her up.
I didn't think she won the Santos fight.
Exactly. I was there. I was there in the arena watching that one, right? Everybody thought she lost.
Yeah.
Right?
I thought she lost that fight.
She got away with that one.
Yeah.
And then this one, she couldn't get away with it because it was a finish, right?
Yeah. The last time I felt like Shevchenko looked like Shevchenko was that ground and pound finish against Murphy.
Yeah.
And that was 2021.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. For her, I still feel like she's capable. She's capable of becoming a champ. I don't know if she's gonna be able to get on a long title run again, but I think she's gonna be able to win this fight. I feel like she's gonna go in there and wrestle more, and she's she's a better striker.
She's definitely a better striker.
She's a better striker,
yeah,
right?
Definitely.
Grasso does her thing, but if you look at if they were to just do pure striking, Valentina would win that fight.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But this is MMA. It's
Yeah.
different. The gloves are different. Everything's different.
Exactly.
But even with that, I think Shevchenko goes in there and grapples a little bit more, and but still strikes, right? But grapples a little bit more, and maybe even chase after submissions to test Grasso. Maybe Grasso wasn't working on that as much. You know what I mean? Certain fighters, when they're in camp, they work on specific things for their opponents.
Yeah.
A lot of time, right? And then some things are neglected. In MMA, there's always something neglected.
Yeah.
There's never a perfect camp.
Oh no. And it's like, have you ever played those fight manager games where it's work, you know what I mean? But you have the created character and you're trying to build up, and it's I remember it was UFC whatever, right? And I was trying to build my character, and I get so annoyed because I'm like, oh man, every time I up the grappling, the striking goes down. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
And then in my own career, I'm like, every time I up my grappling, my striking goes down. It's bullshit.
Yeah. Well, MMA is just it's a sport that's built for imperfection.
Yeah, it is. There's you're never going to have everything at 100, and that's why the GOATs and the guys DJ and everything are just legendary because, man, how is DJ so good at so many aspects of the game? You know what I mean? Same with GSP, same with John Jones. These guys are phenomenal for a reason.
For sure. It's you could train 3 times a day on all these different types of disciplines. But then eventually you're going to run into overtraining.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's always something that can happen while you're trying to chase this perfect training camp or training environment or whatever. It just never happens, right? You just have to do with what you have.
Yeah.
And I think that's why in fighting, a lot of it has to do with who shows up on that night.
Oh, yeah.
You could have had there's a lot of stories out there that people don't know about very famous fighters, high-level fighters, that, for example, the John Jones story of, how he was partying, 2 weeks before he went and fought Gustafsson and still beat him, right? Stuff like that. Even, when he fought DC, he was on coke the previous weekend. Stuff like that. That is not an isolated story.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of stories like that.
Oh man, there's so many stories that we just don't know.
Yeah, and we know,
or we know and we can't say.
Exactly. There's a bunch, right? And then you're like, what? That happened, and they still went in there and beat the best dude in the fucking division. It's insane. And but that's just fighting, man.
Even the other way, where they lose to somebody, and you're like, oh, and just to the public, they're like, oh, well, they lost because, and you're like, man, you don't know how hard that weight cut was, or man, you don't know how, what situation was going on in their life, Sure. So that stuff all plays a factor.
I like Alexa Grasso. They did the whole Ultimate Fighter thing. That's why the fight has been since the year. It has been a year since they last fought.
Yeah.
So so they did the Ultimate Fighter thing. You know, Grasso seemed like she kind of came up better out of that.
She
like,
did, yeah.
Image-wise and all that. But no one gives a fuck about image when you're fighting, right?
Yeah.
It's about fighting. I think Valentina goes in there and wins. I think she wins a decision. I
Okay.
think she goes in there and does her thing. I think the fight goes to a decision.
I see that too. I
Yeah.
see it going to a decision unless somehow there's, another situation where either Shevchenko, wears Grasso down and then sets up, a beautiful head kick or something,
Yeah.
as we've seen her do, or I see Grasso jumping on that back again and maybe getting a sub. But man, if the last two fights have said anything, it's gonna be bloody competitive,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be hard for us to choose who. I kind of actually give it to Grasso just because of the fact that she won the first one, the last one was close, and she's younger. I don't think Shevchenko lost a step, but I just think Grasso will have that mental edge to it and sort of has that momentum going. So, but let's see how it goes. I kind of see both of them winning in one way or another, but I'm gonna give it to Grasso on this.
Yeah, the Grasso has the X factor of, being opportune with maybe a situation, and then Shevchenko has that X factor of like she can knock you out.
And being a legend.
Yeah.
You know what
She
I
can
mean?
knock you out, and like she's like cold blooded,
Yeah.
right? It's like you got this bubbly champion versus this cold blooded former champion.
You don't get called the bullet
Yeah.
for nothing.
You don't even get into gunfights and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In Peru, of all places, just because you're just, you're just a regular gal. So we will see.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal fight, though.
For sure.